On today's episode of Pawpaw's Garage, we're talking about braided hose, AN lines, and we're going to put a trans cooler on the 70 Nova. Hang around. So today we're adding a transmission cooler onto the Nova. Now I didn't want to go back with the steel lines, run it all the way to the front and run it through the radiator, because sometimes, especially in this car, it has the original radiator in it, and those cores can go bad and dump fluid or water into your transmission fluid, and water gets into the transmission, gets on the clutches fall apart, new transmission build. So what I decided to do was use an aftermarket finned 12-inch cooler. It looks like this one. Now I've already added that cooler to the frame of the Nova, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. But right now, let me show you how I made the braided lines that I ran from the transmission down to the cooler. All right, to complete this build, what I needed was my braided line, my AN fittings, a JIC fitting, a pipe cap, a blowgun, and of course, my handy dandy Harbor Freight grinder. Now when you get this line, if you buy it in bulk, the ends of it will probably come something looking like this. What you need is an end that looks more like this. Nice and clean edge. So how do you do that? You can use electrical tape. I use duct tape, and I just rip off a section about so big. Come around the frayed end back here, pull it nice and tight, wrap it 3 or 4 times, whatever you come up with, and then we're going to use the grinder and cut it off. Now be sure you use eye protection for this, because these little strands can just fly off and get everywhere. And you may be left with something like this. I've got one little strand here. Let me grab a pair of side dikes and we'll get that cut off. Now all that tape's going to be too thick to go into the fitting, so you have to take off a couple of strands. Here I am back down to the braid, so I'm just going to pull it over just enough that it overlaps. Go ahead and cut that bit off. And there we go. Ready to put our fitting on. So here's how these work. We take them apart. This threaded bit goes down in the hose. This piece comes up, tightens on, flares out, nothing can come out. Now, if you look down inside here, there's a shoulder just where the threads end. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. There's a shoulder there. So what we want to do is be sure when we put our line on that that hose goes all the way up to that shoulder. So here's the best way I found to do that. I just kind of at an upward angle this way, just make sure that there are no strands hanging out. If you go down, you're going to know it. So just get it put in about the best way you can. There we go. It started. Now, some people are going to probably tell me I'm wrong for this, but it works and I haven't had any leaks. So here's what I do. Turn it over and just beat it down until you can look inside here and see that the top of the hose is up against the shoulder or the very bottom thread in this housing. Okay, so you probably can't see that, it's pretty dark, but I can feel around in there and I can see from here that the hose is all the way up against that shoulder, right about here somewhere. Part 2. Insert the second part and give it a little pressure and start screwing it down. It'll start tightening up in just a minute. Right there. Now, it's going to take 2 3/4 inch wrenches to tighten these together. Now, they make special wrenches for this, non-marring, if that's what you're into. I guess if this were sitting on top of the engine, I may go for that, but for the most part, not that worried about it. I'm looking for more security than I am pretty. Alright, there she is, all nice and snug. Complete. So, now, let me show you about the JIC fitting. Alright, so this JIC fitting goes up to a 5/8 national pipe thread. So then I went and got a 5/8 NPT cap. Put on a little Teflon tape. Use your wrenches. Tighten it down real good. Part 2. Screw it into your AN fitting. Now, it doesn't require any Teflon tape here because the sealing goes on up here. No sealing happens down in the threads. Put her all together. Now, whatever you're using this for, I just happen to be using this for transmission. So I go to the other end of my hose, which at this point would have another fitting on it already. But then I fill this hose with transmission fluid or hydraulic oil, whatever I'm using it for at the time. This end is plugged off, as you can see. Use your blowgun, come into this end, and hold your pressure down. And that will tell you if you have any leaks around your swivels, around your connection, coming out of the ends down here. That's what you need to look for. So test your hoses before you put them on, especially if they're on top of the transmission, and then you got to pull the transmission down to get your hoses back off. So test them ahead of time. Alright, here we are under the Nova. Now I've already secured the oil cooler to the outer side of the front frame here. And it seems like it's a little low, but it actually doesn't hang as low as the header does, and it also doesn't hang as low as the rear leaf dampener. So I think we're good here. Now, as you can see, my AN lines are pre-made. Well, I say pre-made, I actually made them and pre-installed them up in the transmission. Let's see if I can get you a shot. There they are, right there. Alright, they're hanging down right here. So what I'm going to do is try to go through this void right here and bring them over and get them attached. Alright, let's see if it works. Alright, so the best way I found to do this is come down just below the transmission mount here, or the cross member, and come in just above that void
right there, spin it around, and hook her up. And it doesn't really matter which one goes on the top, which one goes on the bottom. Now, I did see a bad review on one of these types of coolers. So when I got it, I ran my bore scope down inside of it all the way to the other end, and so these fins are actually also on the inside. There actually also is a plate that's welded on both sides that runs the entire length all the way down to just about right here. Then the oil passes, goes to the other side, comes back out. So this one actually does work. It's just not two holes cut in an open tube. All right, one more little bump snug. There she is. All right, both lines are installed, tightened up. One more time. They come out, go across the frame in this void here, go underneath the transmission cross member, and all the way up. Let me see here, to the transmission. There she is. Boom. That is how AN lines are built and installed. Hey guys, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, look, and click that bell so you can see new videos when I upload them on the 70 Nova build. We'll see you.